Donald Trump is not working alone, and he is not working in his own name. He is working in name of another power. Why? Because there they are going to wait for their Messiah, which the Bible talks about the wicked Satan himself appearing, having his own appearance as if he were Christ, to deceive the whole world, which is the final great deception, the name of our channel.
And it was here in Jerusalem, some 2,000 years later, that the soldiers of Israel spoke three immortal words: Har Habayit Biadenu, the Temple Mount is in our hands.
Cyrus the Great is alive. These are the banners that they put around Jerusalem. Amazing to see the amount of money also invested in promoting Donald Trump in that country as a friend of Zion, a friend of the Zionist movement, a friend of the Messianic Jewish movement.
President Trump became the first world leader to recognize Jerusalem as our capital. And today, the United States of America is opening its embassy right here in Jerusalem. Thank you, President Trump, for having the courage to keep your promises.
But we don't want only the embassy. We hope, just as King Cyrus pushed us, the Jewish people, to rebuild the temple, we hope all the 70 nations and President Donald Trump, after he recognized Jerusalem as the spiritual, holy capital of the land of Israel, of the state of Israel, he will help us. We're part of a prophetic process. That's what it's all about. And this president, he understood when nobody else understood. He understood we're not talking politics. We're not talking politics. We're talking Torah. We're talking prophets. That's what it's all about. And once we understand it, and I think he understood it, maybe he can't say it, but he knows. And he's pushing us. He's pushing us. And the whole world is there.
Donald Trump and the Third Temple in Jerusalem is what we'll be talking about today. But now, as we see in this image, Donald Trump is not working alone, and he is not working in his own name. He is working in name of another power, the first beast of Revelation 13, as we've been talking about in the previous parts. These two powers, United States and the Vatican, are working together to be able to build the Third Temple of Jerusalem. Why? Because there they are going to wait for their Messiah, which the Bible talks about the wicked with a capital W, that is Satan himself appearing, having his own appearance as if he were Christ, to deceive the whole world, which is the final great deception, the name of our channel, because that is what we are trying to warn, ultimately that final great deception that Satan will do. And here we'll see the trajectory of Donald Trump, how in both his administrations and in his past, to see how he is linked to this movement of the Third Temple, how it's evolving, and eventually with current news and what's happening today, see how this Third Temple is going to be a reality and very soon in our lives. So to begin with, President Donald J. Trump keeps his promise to open US Embassy in Jerusalem in Israel. And this was where it basically all started, in May the 14th of 2018. This was the moment when Donald Trump started to be such an important figure for the Jewish community and also for the evangelical community, because we cannot forget that there is a great amount of Christians that believe that the Third Temple is necessary to be built for Christ to come. And this is a great lie, but it is prophesied in the Bible that the Third Temple will happen. And there will be one where the Antichrist himself will sit there, the papacy, the Pope that will be ruling at that time, and eventually the capital letter Antichrist, that final one, which will be Satan himself. That is prophesied in the Bible, and we will see that later where it is in other videos. But today we're going to see what is about the Trump relation to the Third Temple, to the Jewish community, and how this has been evolving. It says here, today we finally acknowledge the obvious, that Jerusalem is Israel's capital. And that was what they proclaimed at that moment. Let's take a look at what Netanyahu said at that speech.
In Jerusalem, King David established our capital 3,000 years ago. In Jerusalem, King Solomon built our temple, which stood for many centuries. In Jerusalem, Jewish exiles from Babylon rebuilt the temple, which stood for many more centuries. In Jerusalem, the Maccabees rededicated that temple and restored Jewish sovereignty in this land. And it was here in Jerusalem, some 2,000 years later, that the soldiers of Israel spoke three immortal words: Har Habayit Be'adenu, the Temple Mount is in our hands. Last December, President Trump became the first world leader to recognize Jerusalem as our capital. And today, the United States of America is opening its embassy right here in Jerusalem. Thank you, President Trump, for having the courage to keep your promises.
The Temple Mount is ours, is what he said. Jerusalem as the capital has been apparently a prophecy being fulfilled for so many Christians that do not interpret correctly the prophecies of the Bible. Because in no moment does it say that God has any favor or special favor to the Jewish community as he does to the rest of the world. Because the Jewish people, as a Jewish nation, have been totally rejected by God as his special nation on this earth. Because they did not accept Jesus Christ when he came. So their Messiah already came. He already walked on this earth, and they did not accept him. They crucified him, and still they do not believe, in spite of all the evidence that there is, of all the proof, of all the prophecy that marked his crucifixion also. They do not accept him. Now a small group of Jews will do at the end times, but not all of them, as some Christian evangelicals believe, that all the Jewish community will be converted when the third temple is built, and Jesus apparently will come down there and they will accept Jesus as the true Messiah. But the Bible tells totally the contrary, that who's going to appear on that earth is not going to be Jesus Christ. It's going to be Satan, as if he were Christ himself. But here we can see that Donald Trump is the one they are proclaiming that is helping the Israel nation to be able, the Israeli nation, to come back to its original state, and also gets that greater Israel, that big territory in the Middle East that they are looking for, from the Nile to the Euphrates. And Donald Trump is fulfilling these prophecies for them. Because the Jews also have certain prophecies about someone that could be a Gentile, that means not someone that is Jewish precisely, to be able to help them gain their territory and bring the Jews back to Jerusalem, like an inverse exodus, so that they can come back to the nation and then their Messiah will come. The Times of Israel, this was from the 14th of October 2025. Trump earns fresh comparisons to Cyrus the Great as last living hostages return home. Knesset Speaker hails the US President as a giant of Jewish history. He was first compared to the ancient Persian ruler in 2018 for moving the American embassy to Jerusalem. Yes, because of this movement, they named Donald Trump as the Cyrus of our times. The Persian king Cyrus was the one that in the Old Testament helped the Jewish people rebuild the second temple in Jerusalem. So now they are calling Donald Trump the Cyrus of this time because he is the one that's going to help rebuild the third temple in Jerusalem. Mr. President, you stand before the people of Israel not as another American president, but as a giant of Jewish history, one for whom we must look back 2.5 millennia into the mists of time to find a parallel in Cyrus the Great. Amir Ohana, Speaker of the Knesset, told Trump on Monday as he welcomed the president for a victory speech to the Israeli parliament. To be compared to Cyrus is no small thing. Living around 600 BC and shrouded in myth, the Persian ruler is traditionally credited with granting Jews permission to return from exile in Babylon to the land of Israel and for helping them to rebuild the temple in Jerusalem. Because Cyrus was a pagan who by force seized and ruled over a vast empire, he tends to be treated as an imperfect yet essential vessel for God's divine plan for the Jews, and he is widely celebrated in Jewish history. This is interesting because the parallel that they make between Cyrus and Trump is that Cyrus was an imperfect pagan, so that in character and in way of being and in his manners, he was not a good let's say like a good representation of what a person should be for the Jews. And the same manner we have today Trump, that everyone can see that he is arrogant, he is, well, he's always right for him, he is also selfish, he is someone that always says that he is doing everything perfectly, he stopped so many wars, he deserves the Peace Nobel Prize. I mean, he's an imperfect vessel, that's what they are saying. But that God will use something imperfect like Donald Trump, and he will be chosen by God for this purpose. And this is something that the evangelical community is also talking about. That Donald Trump is not a perfect Christian, but he is chosen by God. And that he has chosen him because of what is in his heart. Because in his heart, he wants to do the best for God. Well, that's complete nonsense, because he says that the Bible is his favorite book, and I have never heard him even cite one single quote of the Bible. But anyway, that's another story. It's a comparison that Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu has also made visiting the White House in 2018 during Trump's first term, shortly after the president moved the US Embassy from Tel Aviv to Jerusalem. Netanyahu situated Trump in a long line of friendly world leaders, including Cyrus, Lord Balfour, and President Harry Truman, all of whom he said helped return the Jews to their rightful homes in Israel. At the time, a Jewish-Israeli group, the Mikdash Educational Center, started selling commemorative coins imposing Trump's face over Cyrus's, and we'll see this in a bit, because they did not only put Trump's face with Cyrus's face, they put a certain building also in that coin. The Cyrus framing has also helped Christian Zionists embrace Trump since his first term, despite the community's initial misgivings about Trump's personal behavior and often crude demeanor. Well, yes, obviously, he is not the best example of a true Christian at all. But he serves them for the prophecy and for what they want. Because what they want is the destruction of the Dome of the Rock and the building of the third temple. So if Trump fulfills that purpose, it doesn't matter how erroneous or how bad character he may have, then he is just useful for them, and that's it. He will fulfill the prophecy. That's why they're saying, God bless Donald Trump. This is where Netanyahu said this in the Oval Office.
So we remember the proclamation of the great king, Cyrus the Great, Persian king, 2,500 years ago. He proclaimed that the Jewish exiles in Babylon can come back and rebuild our temple in Jerusalem. We remember 100 years ago, Lord Balfour, who issued the Balfour Proclamation that recognized the rights of the Jewish people in our ancestral homeland. We remember 70 years ago, President Harry S. Truman was the first leader to recognize the Jewish state. And we remember how a few weeks ago, President Donald J. Trump recognized Jerusalem as Israel's capital. Mr. President, this will be remembered by our people throughout the ages. And as you just said, others talked about it. You did it. So I want to thank you on behalf of the people of Israel. And I also want to I look forward to our discussions on both challenges and opportunities. If I had to say what is our greatest challenge in the Middle East, to both our countries, to our Arab neighbors, it's encapsulated in one word: Iran. And I think we have to stop this country that chants death to Israel, death to America. Iran must be stopped.
Well, this was some time ago. But it is very interesting to see how what Netanyahu said to Trump is that the main goal that they have to have together is Iran living what we are living today in middle of the Iran war. I would recommend the video that we did on how the Iran war was planned long ago, decades ago. Very interesting to see how these two powers, the US and Israel, were working along with the Vatican, behind the scenes obviously, to create this war with Iran, to provoke them and eventually do this invasion. That is what they are doing today. So as we can see here, Netanyahu once again, praising Donald Trump for what he's doing for the Israel nation. In 2018, the evangelical leader Mike Evans, who founded the Jerusalem-based Friends of Zion Museum, declared that Cyrus was used as an instrument of God for deliverance in the Bible, and God has used this imperfect vessel, this flawed human being like you or I, this imperfect vessel, and he's using him in an incredible, amazing way to fulfill his plans and purposes. As the return of the living hostages seemed imminent, Evans' group placed "Cyrus the Great is Alive" billboards in Jerusalem. The billboards feature images of Trump and the American and Israeli flags intertwined. And this is the image of the coins that they created, this half shekel, the Temple Mount coin. That's, as we can see there, has the third temple of Jerusalem on one side. Let's just take a look at this Trump Cyrus temple coin. And we can see how these Jews, these Orthodox, these radical fanatic Jews are really loving the work that Donald Trump is doing for their nation. Take a look.
So this is the mold.
Okay, this is the original mold of the second Cyrus Trump temple coin. And as you can see over here, let's see what we have. Okay, first of all, we have over here in Hebrew, Lemalot Shivim Shana, to fulfill 70 years. There are 70 years for the state of Israel. Something happened again. One of the biggest leaders of the world again, President Donald Trump, and here we see the seal of America. He again recognized Jerusalem as the capital of Israel, of the state of Israel, of the people of Israel. And he also built a house in Jerusalem. But we don't want only the embassy. We hope, just as King Cyrus pushed us, the Jewish people, to rebuild the temple, we hope all the 70 nations and President Donald Trump, after he recognized Jerusalem as the spiritual, holy capital of the land of Israel, of the state of Israel, he will help us, the Jewish people, rebuild the third temple. And that's why we have the seal of America, the original Persian Empire. Look around you. Look who's sitting here. And where are you from? Jamaica. And you're from the USA. And you're from
Argentina.
Argentina. And where are you
Guatemala.
from? Guatemala. Look at this. Look at this. And we have somebody from India. It's unbelievable. Here in the center of Jerusalem, I'm surrounded people from other nations, and we're all talking about one thing, of the importance of Jerusalem, and the importance of peace, and the importance of the Geulah of redemption. So we're part of a prophetic process. That's what it's all about. And this president, he understood when nobody else understood. He understood we're not talking politics. We're not talking politics. We're talking Torah. We're talking prophets. That's what it's all about. And once we understand it, and I think he understood it, maybe he can't say it, but he knows. And he's pushing us. He's pushing us. And the whole world is there.
The whole world is involved in this movement. We like it or not, we are all involved in this because it is going to happen and it will affect us all, ultimately to take a decision if we are going to accept the mark of the beast or not. Because from that place, the mark of the beast is going to be enforced. Yes, it's going to start in the United States and spread out to the rest of the world. But the one that is going to reign in that new world order, who's going to be the head of that kingdom, is going to be the Pope. And the Pope will eventually sit on that place. And that's what we're going to prove also. So, to carry on, Cyrus the Great is alive. These are the banners that they put around Jerusalem. Amazing to see the amount of money also invested in promoting Donald Trump in that country as a friend of Zion, a friend of the Zionist movement, a friend of the Messianic Jewish movement. And also, obviously, he serves the purpose of all those Christian evangelicals that are also in the Zionist movement, awaiting the moment for the Dome of the Rock to be destroyed and that third temple to be lifted. So where does Trump's sympathy to the Jewish community come from? Well, we can see certain origins. For example, in this article, it says, does Donald Trump have Jewish roots? November the 1st, 2019. It says, Donald Trump is arguably the most pro-Israel president in US history. Could it be that Trump has Jewish roots in his family? The president himself is not Jewish, nor does he have any known Jewish ancestors. His father, Fred Trump, was a Lutheran who hailed from Bavaria. Bavaria, very interesting. What came up in that place? The Illuminati. That from that area of Germany surged the Illuminati created by the Jesuits through Adam Weishaupt, who was a Jew, but that was also a Jesuit priest. that apparently, yes, very conveniently for the Jesuits, apparently he left the order. Well, that kind of thing does not happen. So Donald Trump's father was from the area of Bavaria. Very interesting to see from that area of Europe, from Germany, and the power that this family had and still has. Then we can see who they are truly linked to the Vatican directly, and to this Illuminati power. Although he claimed Swedish ancestry, ostensibly to help maintain Jewish tenants and businesses associates in the period after World War II, when German ancestry was considered less favorable. It is possible that this is also the reason for Fred's unusual magnanimity towards Jewish causes. Fred was a successful realtor and noted philanthropist who gave generously to Jewish causes, including the Long Island Jewish Hospital. Trump also donated the land for the Talmud Torah of the Beach Haven Jewish Center in Flatbush, New York. In the Trumps, 3 generations of builders and a presidential candidate, it was noted that Fred Trump was so active in Jewish and Israel causes that some believe that he belonged to the Jewish faith. Now, this kind of Jews are different to the Jews that are in Israel, and that many of them are not in favor of this Zionist movement, because there are some Jewish people that belong from the East European area that do not have a bloodline of descendants with the nation of Israel actually. But they belong from a Khazarian area, which they are not Jewish in origin at all. This is a very occultist origin, and these are people that are working with very satanic purposes. The people that are in high levels working for this purpose of bringing the Messiah to where the third temple is. It is well known that Donald Trump has been a long-time friend of Israel Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu. But it is less known that this friendship began with Fred Trump, the president's father, who befriended Netanyahu while he was the Israeli ambassador to the United Nations in Manhattan. We will see now in a minute a video of precisely Benjamin Netanyahu at that time when he was ambassador talking to a certain rabbi. Now, Trump's father was also involved in relationship with these kind of Jewish community, Zionist Jews, and we can see that his son Trump is following his path, and he also went to the grave of this rabbi with which Netanyahu spoke with, and we will see what they talked about. Very interesting to see, especially with what's happening today. This affinity for Jews was also demonstrated by Fred Trump Jr., Donald Trump's older brother, who joined a Jewish fraternity, Sigma Alpha Mu, while attending Lehigh University, even though he was not Jewish. In a strange note, several of the fraternity brothers have been quoted as saying that while in university, Fred Jr. claimed that his father was Jewish. This was incongruous as his middle name was Christ, and there were no similar claims to anyone else in the Trump clan. Very interesting to see that he belonged to a Jewish fraternity and went to a Jewish university without being Jew at all. But this family has a direct relation with this Jewish community that is working for the Third Temple. Though Fred Jr.'s claim to be Jewish has never been taken seriously, the president does have a family connection to Judaism, as his daughter, Ivanka, converted to Judaism in 2009 before marrying Jared Kushner, an Orthodox Jew. Ivanka always stressed that her father supported her decision to convert from day one, adding that he has tremendous respect for the Jewish religion. Trump is blessed with 3 Jewish grandchildren. He even asked his daughter to pray for his success in the synagogue during the high holidays prior to the presidential election. Well, this is completely nonsense, or bonkers, you could say, if you are a true Christian. I mean, if you're a Christian and your daughter wants to convert to Judaism, well, through respect, you would respect it because it's that person's decision, it's her free will. But you would not be proud of it, because that would like being taken a step backwards, since your daughter would not be accepting Christ as the Messiah. So if you are a Christian and you know that Jesus Christ is God himself, why would you be happy that your daughter would convert to Judaism? It makes absolute no sense. It's complete nonsense. It makes no sense at all. The eldest son of Donald is Donald Trump Jr. He married model Vanessa K. Hayden, who is reported to be of Jewish and Danish descent. They have 5 children, another son of Donald, Eric Frederick Trump, married Lara Lee Yunaska under a crystal-embellished juppah, that is, a Jewish marriage canopy. Lara Leah is also reported to be Jewish and worked for a Jewish news service. Donald Trump also says the Bible is his favorite book. So Donald Trump is a Christian, he's apparently a Presbyterian, but his whole family is Jewish. And those that were not Jewish start converting to Judaism. Even his grandchildren, I think, are Jews. But he's a Christian. Okay. And it says here, Donald Trump also says that the Bible is his favorite book. I have not found a single quote of Donald Trump of a complete Bible verse to the day, at the moment. But it's his favorite book. It isn't necessary to dig in order to find some personal or vested interest for the president to be pro-Jewish and pro-Israel, Zell said. It is sad that this is the case, that this is what people try to do. Most politicians, especially Jewish, are cautious in their support of Israel. Donald Trump is not. He is not cautious in the least. He is true to his beliefs and his worldview, part of which is that Israel is, from an objective point of view, an important ally and an asset to the security of the United States. It is clear to him that the Jewish people are entitled to a secure state, that recognition from a president is unprecedented. But what is more amazing is that he acts on this belief unabashedly and unequivocally. So yes, we can see that Donald Trump proclaims boldly his belief that the Jewish community need the protection of the Christian community. And this is what he is doing with all his strength, with all his power, with all his might. MAGA movement is involved also in lifting up the nation of Israel, giving them that greater Israel, conquering all the territory of the Middle East from the Nile to the Euphrates and giving them that to the Jewish nation. But the thing is that at the end, the last moment, all of this is serving to a certain purpose, because the Jewish community, as a nation, they're going to be completely destroyed. They are only being used as a tool to be able to gain that territory and build the third temple. But once that is done, the one that's going to sit there is not the Jewish Messiah. It's the Messiah that the Pope is waiting for. And the one that is going to be the one that will receive the Messiah will be the Pope himself. And there Satan will say to the whole world that the Sabbath has been changed to Sunday, and that this, the Catholic Church, is my church and has always been. But the other religions will be respected. You can believe whatever you want. Muslims, Hindus, Christians, Buddhists, it doesn't matter. You can believe whatever you want, because I, the Messiah, am already here. And I respect all kinds of creeds and religions. Because also, the prophecy says that Satan, when he appears, will not appear alone. He will appear accompanied with other fallen angels, looking or appearing as if they were other divinities of other religions. Seeming that all religions can have a communion together, but that Christ is the Lord of them all. So maybe at the times people will see Krishnas and Mohammeds and Christ and all kind of Catholic saints, everything mixed up, because they are all in heaven and they have all come down to be able to show the world how they should live. And this is what I'm saying, although it may sound nonsense, are in satanic writings of Theosophists and of Lucis Trust, for example. Alice Bailey wrote about this, that when the false Christ will come, he will not come alone. He will come with many more. And then White talked about this also. Business Insider, here's what billionaire Donald Trump's office looks like. And in his office, we can see here in the center of the image, this image which is of a Jewish organization. One wall of Donald Trump's office holds a number of awards, many of which were given to him by the Jewish community. One that stands out to Trump is the Tree of Life, a humanitarian award given by the Jewish National Fund. It means so much to me, Trump tells the Washington Post. A lot of times I'll have friends of mine come in who are Jewish, and they'll see the Tree of Life and they say, wow, what a great thing. And this was from the 26th of February of 2016. This was quite a while ago, but here we're seeing basically news that prove how Donald Trump has this relationship with the Jewish community. And this is one of the most key ones, I would say, the grave that he visited of this rabbi. It says this: Trump visits Queen's gravesite of Shabbat Rabbi to mark October the 7th. It was the anniversary of the attack of October the 7th, 2023. And it says here, the visits to the Ohel as the grave of Rabbi Menachem Mendel Schneerson is served as a gesture to a Jewish constituency that is expected to support Trump in the election. As we can see here, you can see him in the image with the grave at the right. Donald Trump visited the gravesite of the Chabad Hasidic movement's late leader on Monday to mark the one-year anniversary of the October the 7th attack on Israel. The former president's visit to the Queen's grave of Rabbi Menachem Mendel Schneerson, known as the Rabbi, was thick with ritual and symbolism. So this is a Christian president, okay? Someone that says that he is a Christian Presbyterian or non-denominational. I'm not quite sure. Sometimes he says one thing, sometimes he says another. And he is participating in a Jewish ritual of a deceased rabbi. And he is there doing it as if he was a Jew himself. So what kind of true Christian would do this? Anyway. And he came to the site known as the Ohel with an entourage of prominent supporters, a Holocaust survivor and the family of the hostage held by Hamas in Gaza. The visit was not a campaign stop in Trump's bid to retake the White House, but served as a gesture to a constituency, Orthodox Jews, that is expected to support him in the next month's election. Yes, definitely, because he was looking for the votes of this Jewish community, the Orthodox Jewish community that are waiting that Zionist Israel, that nation, to be rebuilded once again. Standing alongside the grave next to Chabad representatives, Trump engaged in a series of traditional Jewish mourning practices. He donned a kippah, read a chapter of Psalms that is quoted in the daily Jewish penitential prayer, placed a note on the grave, and then laid a small stone on the headstone. He also lit a Yahrzeit memorial candle, something President Joe Biden also did in commemoration of October 7th. He also asked if he should autograph the book of Psalms. He did not appear to do so. It's curious to see how most of the American presidents have worn a kippah at some point of their lives and have gone even to the Wailing Wall. Even Joe Biden, which is a Catholic. So now we have a Protestant president that is doing exactly the same thing. Politicians across parties from the United States and Israel have visited Schneerson's resting place in the Old Montefiore Cemetery, including Trump's daughter Ivanka and her husband Jared Kushner, who advised Trump when he was in office. Later on Monday, Trump planned to hold a remembrance event alongside Jewish community leaders at his hotel in Miami, his campaign said. Now let's take a look at the video.
Can I take that? Would you like me to sign this? I love that. Thank you.
Likewise, and where I described it.
The October 7th attack would never have happened if I was president. I can tell you. So here is my commitment to you on the solemn date. I will not allow the Jewish state to be threatened with destruction. I will not allow another Holocaust of the Jewish people. I will not allow a jihad to be waged on America or our allies. And I will support Israel's right to win its war on terror. And it has to win it fast. No matter what happens, it has to go fast.
So no matter what happens, it has to go fast. And that is what we are seeing today in Iran. It is going very fast. Things are moving very quick. The news is constant of news of bombings, of destruction, of Iran, Israel, US, even Lebanon. The other countries of the Middle East are also being involved. And all of this is a rush because time is running out. Time is running out for the prophecies to be fulfilled, and they want that third temple built. So who is this rabbi that Trump went to visit his grave? It was the Rabbi Menachem Mendel Schneerson, which is also called the Rabbi Lubavitch. And it says here, he is considered one of the most influential Jewish leaders of the 20th century. So this guy is not a nobody. This is someone important in the Jewish community, and especially in the Zionist Jewish community. Just take a look at what he said so many years ago.
The city of Shalna called me. Sheli nivna bis amigdash bismane is kilo chora bis amigdash bismane. Durga 1900 Jahre mit noch Jahren Lachrise. Wie bald aber jem Chamishi Pasche Pinchas und schon lachert vieles Meire. Wir lehen nivna bis amigdash darf im Wissen sein, dass darf sein der Geschrei auf der Gehülle, כאילו חורב ביום חמישי פרשת פנחס.
והוא העיקר התקף ומיד gerät mir sich zu der Linie von Pasche Truma, wo sie sich käbeln sich dem Ziel von Wasser der Migdash, wo sie sich Chanti B'Seichom, B'Seich Kolechat Wachas Mi'Israel, zusammen damit aber sich auch der Zivui, und zusammen mit der Messinas Keach am Beis auf Mishkan, und danach auf dem Beis Migdash Rishim, und danach auf Beis Migdash Sheni, und danach auf dem Beis Migdash HaShlishi, und was der Beis Migdash HaMishulosh, und das soll sein Teike von Miyad Mamash mit Allo Shetevitzen in Miyad und Allo Shetevitzen in Mamash, und mit Dubar Kama Pomim, Veid Vehu Aike, Teike von Miyad Mamash, Gula Amitis Vashleimo, Alidei Meshiach Tzidkeinu, Messi Bereinu Berishenu.
So one of the most important figures of the Jewish Orthodox community, as we can see here, that they are late for the third temple. If the temple is not built this afternoon, we are late. It's as if it was destroyed. And this is something that has been pushed into the mindset of the Jewish community, of those Orthodox Jews that want that third temple. Because as I said, there are some Jewish community, a part of it, that are not in favor of all this movement. They're not in favor of the war. They're not in favor even of Benjamin Netanyahu. So we must know that here that even the Jewish community is divided, as all religions, we could say. Now, this rabbi met with Netanyahu in the 1980s when Netanyahu, as we said, was the ambassador for the UN, if I remember correctly. And they had a small conversation here. Take a look, because it has to do a lot with what we're living today.
באתי לבקש את זה בכל העניינים, גם האישיים, גם הלאומיים. בזמן שישראל לאחרונה נתפסו כמה עניינים. התפתחו כמה. מה שרואה עוד, וגם משהו שעדיין משאיר ליבו. אז הייתה משהו עם מה ידיעתו. ועושים. הכנראה שהיא מספיק, כאילו שהיום כבר כמה שעות בגיל עדיין ליבו, אבל יש עוד כמה שעות, אבל יש להשתדל גם היום, בבשורות טובות. יש שמחה וטוב ליבו. כדי שחסידים מקפידים שכל עניינים יהיו שמחה. בשורות טובות, הצלחה רבה.
So the rabbi tells Netanyahu that you must do everything that is in your hands to be able to build that third temple. You have to push the coming of the Messiah. You have to be the one that brings the Messianic times. We are late, he is saying, and this needs to be done now. Now this is 1980s, but 46 years later, 2026 that we are here today, Netanyahu apparently said that Israel will reach the kingdom and make it to Messiah's return. This is from the 13th of March 2026. Here is the video so that we can take a look and see what Netanyahu said on the 13th of March of this year, on the 13th day of the war. Very interesting again. 13th of March, number 13, and on the 13th day of the war. For those that have been following these presentations know what I'm talking about, how important the number 13 is this for these people, for the coming of the Messiah.
אז אני אגיד לך, יכול להיות שנגיע לימות המשיח, אבל זה לא הולך לקרות ביום חמישי הבא. הוא ייפול ואז הבעיה תיפטר. אבל בכל מקרה, זה פשוט איראן אחרת. היא כבר לא מאיימת כפי שהיא הייתה. היא לא אותה מעצמה. זה לא הבריון הענק שאין מה לעשות מולו, ושאין מה להתאגד מולו. גם מתאגדים מולו כרגע, יחד איתנו, וגם פועלים מולו בדרכים גלויות ודרכים אחרות שעוד יבררו בהמשך. בכל מקרה, אני יכול להגיד לך שבעזרת השם, ישראל נמצאת בדרך הרבה יותר חזקה, בעוצמה הרבה יותר גדולה משהייתה אי פעם. ובסוף צריך להבין את זה. כן? אני חושב שכולם אומרים, רגע, אנחנו נגיע למנוחה ולנחלה. אנחנו נגיע לימות המשיח. אז אני אגיד לך, יכול להיות שנגיע לימות המשיח, אבל זה לא הולך לקרות ביום חמישי הבא. בחיים של אומות, אתה נתקל כל הזמן באיומים חדשים או באיומים ישנים שמתחדשים, והדרך היחידה להבטיח את הקיום שלך, את העתיד שלך, את השגשוג שלך ואת הבריתות שעושים איתך, זה שתהיה חזק מאוד. ואין שום ספק שממערכה למערכה, ממלחמת התקומה לעם כלבי, ועכשיו לשאגת הארי, ישראל יוצאת חזקה כפי שלא הייתה מעודה.
So as we saw 46 years ago with that rabbi, the rabbi told him that he must work for the bringing of the Messiah. And 46 years later, 2026, he was saying that it was the times of the Messiah that Israel was bringing at this moment. And we can see that it is the times of the Messiah. All the prophecies of the Bible are being fulfilled. But I'm talking about the true Messiah. The one that they are waiting for is not Jesus Christ. It is the counterfeit one. Now, as many other presidents, Donald Trump also went to the Wailing Wall to pray there with the kippah on his head, something that I can still not understand how a Christian would do this. But anyway, it's a complete mystery to how a Christian person could believe that a Christian would do this and still be a Christian. This definitely means that he's involved in other kind of things, because we cannot mix truth with lies or with evil, can we? So obviously Donald Trump is working for another power. Remember that the Catholic Church came from the Jews, that it was the Pharisees of the times of Jesus that the ones that created the Catholic Church, and that basically the ones that govern the Vatican today is that old Jewish power from 2,000 years ago. They know who they are. They are not even Jewish, because what they are is truly Satanists. That's what they're working for. The people that are behind Donald Trump and so on. Israel 365 News. This was from the 11th of 2024, November. Midrash hints that Trump will return glory to Western world by building third temple. Thus said Hashem to Cyrus, his anointed one, whose right hand is grasped, treading down nations before him, ungirding the loins of kings, opening doors before him, and letting no gate stay shut. Now in this article it says something very interesting about Donald Trump and how he is fulfilling the prophecies for the Jewish Zionists. Here we can see once again, Trump make Israel great. Rabbi Yosef Berger relieved some amazing aspects of Donald Trump's victory in the recent US presidential election, most notably his potential role in building the Third Temple. As the spiritual descendants of Rome, the nation that destroyed the Second Temple, Trump has the potential to do a tikkun, fixing the sin of Rome and returning the glory to Western society. Trump's election is a necessary element of the Geula, the redemption, and a sign that the Moshiach, the Messiah, is imminent, Rabbi Berger said. This is why Donald Trump in Gematria, that is Hebrew numerology, equals 424, which is the same as Moshiach ben David, Messiah from the house of David. Rabbi Berger pointed out, this certainly does not mean he will be the Messiah, but it indicates that he will play a role in preparing the way for the arrival of the Messiah. He clearly has this inclination. This connection was so evident in Trump's connection with Jerusalem that in 2018 the Sanhedrin minted a coin with a profile of Trump superimposed of the image of Persian King Cyrus, who facilitated the building of the Second Temple in Jerusalem that ended the Babylonian exile in 538 before the Christian era. Cyrus was not Jewish. Cyrus's connection to the Messiah is found in the book of Isaiah. The Persian king is the only non-Jewish leader to be referred to in the Bible as Moshiach, literally his anointed one. The word for anointed one in Hebrew is Moshiach, which means Messiah. Thus said Hashem to Cyrus, his anointed one, whose right hand he has grasped, treading down nations before him, ungirding the loins of kings, opening doors before him, and letting no gate stay shut. And that's what Donald Trump is doing for them, treading down the nations before him. Rabbi Berger cited the medieval commentator Rashi, who stated Daniel 12:12 that Moshiach will be revealed, concealed, and then revealed again. This was also stated in Midrash Rabbah, which is the Bamidbar 11:3. Rabbi Beraktia, in the name of Rabbi Levi, said, just like the first Redeemer, Moshe, revealed himself to the Jews and then concealed himself, similarly, the final Redeemer will reveal himself and then conceal himself and then return and reveal himself again. So they are comparing Donald Trump to Moses, because Moses revealed himself in Egypt. He concealed himself in the desert 40 years and then came back once again to liberate the Jewish people from the yoke of the Pharaoh and the Egyptian nation. They are saying that this is a parallel to Donald Trump because he had won first election, he won the elections, and then he put the embassy of Israel as the capital, the embassy of Israel as the capital of that nation, Jerusalem. And then he had the other term that he did not win, which was Joe Biden. And then he came back on a second term, which would be once again that he shows himself. So they are comparing the parallelism between the life of Moses and the life of Donald Trump. So interesting to see these two figures, Moses and Cyrus. Cyrus is the one that brings the temple. And Moses, what did Moses bring eventually? He brought the law. The law, yes, the 10 Commandments. So this is also connecting that Donald Trump is being a great figure for two things, for the third temple and the Sunday law. Yes, this false Sabbath that is going to be imposed. It says also, like Cyrus, God puts Donald Trump in power in order to build the temple and pave the way for Moshiach, Rabbi Berger said. Like Moses, Trump began as part of the common people, was revealed in his first success, entering the White House, but was then hidden. Like Moses, now that Trump has been revealed for the second time, he will fulfill his ultimate function, Rabbi Berger said. And his ultimate function, obviously, is to build that third temple. And this is what's happening today. Well, here we can see at the moments of the inauguration of the embassy, Rabbi Berger cited another midrash that hinted at Trump's purpose. Trump is from Edom. Rabbi Berger said, Edom, literally red, is the nation descended from biblical Esau and the twin brother of Jacob, also known as Israel. Rabbi Berger said, Edom became Rome, which became Christianity, which became Western civilization. Trump is often ridiculed for his redness. Yaakov tricked Yitzhak and was blessed as the firstborn. Esau's blessing was to serve Yaakov, this is Genesis 27:37, and Edom, the Western world, can only be blessed through blessing Yisrael. So they are saying here that the descendants of Rome of Christianity, Donald Trump, that is a coincidence that his face turns up red. They look at that, they see it as he is Edom, he is that representation of that power of Edom that was the one that sold his first place in the lineage to Jacob, and eventually he was going to be blessed only if he blessed Jacob. So they're saying that Christianity can only be blessed if they bless Israel. And this is something that's preached inside the evangelical community. There are Christian pastors that are saying that if you do not bless Israel, God will not bless you. And this is becoming dogma. This is something that has been put in by the Jesuits to be able to prepare this terrain. Because as we said, Alberto Rivera, he mentioned, the ex-Jesuit, that the Jesuits want Jerusalem for the white Pope. They want the Holy Land for the Pope so that they can reign from there. That is their main goal. And they have been infiltrating false doctrines inside Protestantism to be able to create this dispensationalist movement that the Jewish community has to return to Israel. They will be blessed by the Lord, the third temple will be built, and eventually they will receive their Messiah, which will be Satan himself. Rabbi Berger then referred to the 11th chapter of Leviticus, which delineates the laws pertaining to animals that are fit for Jewish consumption. In the previous one it says, just like the second temple, the third temple will be built by non-Jews, Rabbi Berger said. This will only be fully revealed after Trump fulfills this role. So they're saying Trump is going to fulfill the third temple. It continues, for an animal to be designated as kosher, it must have split hooves and chew its cud. Despite the explicitly stated rule, four animals are specifically mentioned as being forbidden in a manner that seems textually redundant. The final animal specified as being forbidden to Jews is a chasir, or a pig. Citing Midrash Rabbah, a collection of homiletic teachings believed to have been compiled in the 5th century in Israel, Rabbi Berger explains that this apparent redundancy by stressing that the four animals are compared to the four major kingdoms that mistreated Israel. Of these impure species, a chasir is compared to the nation of Edom. So they are saying that the worst kind of Gentile, which would be a pig, Edom, is the one that is going to help restore the Israeli nation. As Cyrus, the king of Persia, that was not a Jew, he was a pagan, will help the Jewish community once again build their nation and their great Israel. The comparison is not flattering, but the implications are enormous, Rabbi Berger told Breaking Israel News. Many times in the Bible we find that the greatest spiritual light comes from the most hidden of sources. Midrash Rabbah asked, why is Edom compared to Chasir? The answer Midrash Rabbah gives is based on the root of the word Chasir, which literally means to return. Rabbi Berger continued, Midrash Rabbah stated, in the future, Edom will return the glory to its former status. The rabbi emphasized that these sources state explicitly that the third temple will be built by the descendants of Rome, that is, Christianity. It says Rabbeinu Behaye explained that this is tikkun, the reparation. Rome destroyed the second temple, so Rome's descendants, the Christians, are going to amend this by taking part in the bringing of the third temple. This is extremely interesting because although this is all false prophecy and this comes from Jewish writings, so it is Satan twisting the scriptures to be able to, provoke in the Jewish community these kind of movements and beliefs, we can see that yes, Rome is going to rebuild the third temple because Donald Trump is working for Rome. He is working for the Vatican. And this is what we're going to see in next parts. The Vatican is the one that is using the US to be able to help Israel gain that territory, build a temple, and then throw Israel as a nation because they don't need them anymore, and establish their headquarters there when something is going to happen in the Vatican. The Vatican is going to receive an attack, it's going to be destroyed, or something will happen, and this is something that Adventist pioneers talk about. Many years ago, they said that something might have to happen in Rome to be able to change their position to Israel. And even early Christians talked about this also. We're talking about 2 or 3 centuries after Christ. So this is nothing new. This is something that the Vatican has wanted for always. Rabbeinu Behaye explained this is a tikkun. Well, we've already explained this. Jews and evangelicals together, they are supporting this movement, definitely.
And I have good reason to believe Donald Trump was chosen to be the one to redeem the sins of Esav through offering his assistance in rebuilding the Holy Temple on the Temple Mount and establishing the Jewish kingdom over all of mankind in Jerusalem. Perhaps it is no accident that the numeric value of Donald Trump in Hebrew is the same as Messiah, son of David, Mashiach ben David, 424.
Interesting. I was visiting Jonathan in his Jewish voice, so I went to the Jewish deli, and of course we had the discussion on Trump. I asked them, who is Trump to you? And you know what they said? Trump is our new Messiah. Actually, they want to believe that Trump is the Messiah. What I think is happening here is God using Donald Trump to hasten the coming of the Lord. This is really what is happening here. And we need to stay tuned because he's lining up with Israel right now in a major way.
Set a date 300 years ago. He said, this will all happen. The Messiah will arrive. The end times will begin in the Jewish calendar year 5777. The rabbis have held that dear to them since then. What is that? That's 2016 to 2017. Messiah will arrive. Now, they're looking at Donald Trump. One of the rabbis illustrated how his name in the gematria, the numerology of his name, actually means Messiah. Now, there's some weird stuff here that's going on. So think about this for a moment. I think that the smart ones in Israel are looking at him right now. They're saying he is God's, what we would call John the Baptist. He is God's messenger. When he takes over in January, there is a 5777 countdown to the appearance of the Messiah, and something could happen overnight that could lead to the reconstruction of the temple.
Don't forget, I don't know if you haven't watched the show, I happen to be Jewish by birth, and 75% of all Jews vote Democrat, and they don't like Trump, and this is the greatest president for Jews and for Israel in the history of the world, not just America. Trump's the best president for Israel in the history of the world, and the Jewish people love him like he is the king of Israel. They love him like he is the second coming of God. And in America, American Jews don't like him. They don't even know what they're doing or saying anymore. It makes no sense. But that's okay. He keeps doing what he's doing. He's good for all of us. Good for Jews, good for blacks, good for gays. He's good for everyone in America who wants a job. Barney, thank you.
Interesting that they have mentioned him as the John the Baptist of our time, the one that is going to pave the way for the Messiah to come. as we can see here, there is, well, a complete spell upon these people that are waiting for a great deception that is going to fall on this earth. And these people need to know the truth. They need to hear it sometime, and they will hear enough of the truth to be able to make that final decision. But as we can see, both Jews and evangelicals are in this movement expecting Trump to fulfill those awaited prophecies, false prophecies that have been infiltrated inside the doctrine of Protestantism from the Jesuits, from the Vatican, to be able to create a situation where even the own evangelicals, the Christians, will be the ones promoting the movement that will eventually place the Vatican in the place that they want to be, which is Jerusalem. So, but how much is Trump involved in this? Let's take a look at this, for example, October 21st, because at the moment we can see that everyone's talking about Trump, but Trump is not apparently doing anything apart from going to a grave of a rabbi or saying this or saying the other. Obviously, he's saying that Israel has to be defended, but he is working this as if he apparently doesn't know what he's doing. That's what people are saying, but the thing is that he does know what he is doing. And this article is very interesting also. October 21st, 2024. With eyes on winning war, building third Jewish temple, Ark replica shown in Jerusalem. There's a replica of the Ark of the Covenant that was been made because the Temple Institute, the people that wanted to build the third temple, have all the different furniture, the utensils, everything, the clothing of the priests, the Levites, the trumpets, they've got absolutely everything. But there's one object that they do not have. And that object is the Ark of the Covenant. And the Ark of the Covenant, they know where it is, but they cannot get to it. Why? Because someone already went to it years ago. Yes, years ago. Ron Wyatt, he found the true Ark of the Covenant. And there he met 4 angels that told him a message. I would recommend you to look at our video that we'll leave here up here so that you can check out the interview that we did to his wife, his widow, Mary Nell Wyatt, and how she explains what will happen at that time when what was inside the Ark of the Covenant, the 10 Commandments, will be shown to this world. Yes, because the 10 Commandments will be shown to this world, and the blood of Jesus Christ to be able to prove that he was, is, and will be always the true Savior and Messiah. A replica of the Ark of the Covenant, painstakingly constructed, its creators say, to the Torah specifications of the sacred vessel that was the first temple's central fixture, was displayed in Jerusalem on Sunday evening during the intermediate days of the Sukkot holiday. The Ark described in the Torah, which housed the 10 Commandments tablets among other holy objects, was hidden after the destruction of the first temple per rabbinic tradition. As Jerusalem's King David Hotel, the replica shown in the Hotel Sukkah contained a refurbished Torah scroll which survived the Holocaust from Thessaloniki, Greece. It took 17 volunteers who live in the several countries 3.5 years to build the replica Ark, 3.5 years, very interesting, which is made out of donated gold and some 3 tons of Egyptian acacia. According to Jake, the project's chief architect, who prefers to remain anonymous, and Louis Topper, its principal financer. We went with the highest purity of gold available to the Egyptians, Jake said at the event. The purity used for royal artifacts is around 23.75 carats, so we went with 23.75. A lot of the concepts or motifs that we used follow up either Kabbalistic or some other concept by way of numerology, Jake said. The math parallels the ones found both in the tabernacle and the first temple. They use the same kind of numerology. He added that the golden ratio, a relationship between values that has been seen as beautiful since ancient times and which appears in nature, including human anatomy, played a very important part in the design. So we can see here that they have used Kabbalah, Kabbalistic numerology to build this ark, which at no point does it look like the original one. If you want to see what the original ark looks like, check out videos of Ron Wyatt and how he saw the original Ark of the Covenant, and they did a design of what it truly looks like, and it does not look like this. The Ark of the Covenant was the weapon that was taken into war, he said. Several attendees say that it was meaningful that the Ark replica was built and brought to Jerusalem and amid Israel's seven-front war against Hamas, Hezbollah, Iran, and all of the latter's other terror proxies. So the Ark was built in the United States, and they take the Ark to Jerusalem at the moment of the Hamas war, because in the Old Testament, the Ark was the one that protected, and it was like a war weapon. The Ark itself did not have any power, but it represented the glory of the Lord accompanying God's people. So at the moment of the Hamas war, they bring the ark from the US and take it to Israel to be able to win the war. It says, Ohad Tal, another Knesset member, discussed the symbolism of the replica's ark delivery in wartime. How can we know if we are actually winning this war or not, he said. The first stage is first of all to understand what we are fighting about. The terrorists call the war, which they launched, Al-Aqsa Jerusalem Flood. They didn't do that in order to expand their backyard or to improve their education system, Tal said. No, they did that for Jerusalem, for the Temple Mount. They wanted to prevent the unity that this ark represents. We've already spoken about this, how they knew that the red heifers that are going to be sacrificed, one of them, that with the ashes of that red heifers are going to be mixed with water to sprinkle over the priests and the people to purify them and the Temple Mount to be able to build the third temple of Jerusalem. We can see that there are certain processes that have to occur. First of them is the red heifer, which they already have. And when these red heifers arrive from the US, brought from Texas to Israel, that is when Hamas attacked. And when I say Hamas attacked, it's Hamas attacked because, as we've seen also, that Israel was the one that provoked that attack to be able to have the excuse to enter into Gaza and do what they have done up to today. The Jewish people are fighting not just against Hamas, not just to bring back security to Gaza or the northern border in Lebanon, or against Iran, Tal added. We are fighting to bring back to the world the unity that the Ark, the Temple, and Jerusalem represent. So they are fighting that war for the third temple in Jerusalem, the domain over the mount, and that is what they are fighting for. This is a holy war. This is a war that is between religions. This is a religious war. This is not only over territory. It wasn't clear if the replica ark would remain in Jerusalem long term or return to the United States, where it was mainly constructed to tour and inspire individuals. The replica has already visited Mar-a-Lago, the Palm Beach in Florida, home of former President Donald Trump, the Republican presidential nominee. This is amazing. I think it spent 8 months in Donald Trump's house. So they built this ark made of gold with Kabbalistic measurements, all of it to win the war against Gaza, and they put it in Donald Trump's house. Very interesting. And more because, take a look, it says, it should be the weapon that walks in front of the army, he said. We truly believe that it should be both a weapon and inspirational too. Here we can see the ark here at Mar-a-Lago. This is one of the images. And here we can see that Donald Trump has a replica of the covenant of Mar-a-Lago. Why? Because the world's most powerful leader keeps a golden replica of the Ark of the Covenant at his Florida estate. The Ark is not just a relic, it is the ultimate symbol of divine authority on earth, and those who understand its true significance know that it belongs to only one kingdom, the kingdom of David. And who did they say that Donald Trump was? The Mashiach ben David. He was the Messiah, son of David. That is what they are saying that his name represents in Gematria. So the Ark of the Covenant was given to Donald Trump because they are saying, you are the one that is going to bring our Messiah. You are our John the Baptist, so that a Christian could understand it. You are going to pave the way for the third temple and for the Messiah. That is why the Ark of the Covenant was given to Donald Trump, and because he is the one that represents the army of Israel. He is the one that is going to win the war for the Temple Mount. It says, the message is clear. The Ark does not answer to empires, warlords, or politicians. It answers only to the kingdom of David. So they are saying that Donald Trump represents the kingdom of David and the bringing of the Messiah. No man, no nation, and no world leader can wield the Ark's power unless they are under the authority of the kingdom of David. Trump may have the replica, but the true Ark will only return when the kingdom of David is restored as Israel's legitimate government and the temple is rebuilt in Jerusalem. This isn't fantasy. Well, actually, this part is fantasy because they will never have the true Ark of the Covenant. That is not what the prophecy says. The Ark of the Covenant will stay where it is. 6 meters below the place where Christ was crucified. Christ was crucified in the year 31 AD. And at that earthquake that happened, The blood and water fell down and went down through the crack 6 meters below, representing the 6,000 years of sin, and fell on top of the mercy seat of the Ark of the Covenant that was right below Christ's crucifixion place, where Jeremiah placed it, along with other prophets and other servants, just as Ellen White said, and the Bible and the Jewish tradition. So this is amazing. Amazing to see that they know where it is and they are trying to recover it, but they never will. Well, basic meaning, for example, of the Messiah ben David, it says the anointed one, son of David, meaning a descendant of King David. So the phrase refers to the future anointed king from the lineage of King David, who in Jewish belief will rule Israel in Messianic age. And this is, well, the figure that they are giving to Donald Trump. The role in Jewish belief would be a human leader descended from King David, gather the Jewish people back to Israel, which was happening, rebuild the temple in Jerusalem, which is what is going to happen, bring worldwide peace and justice, and restore proper observance of the Torah. Very interesting. So this figure is going to bring worldwide peace and justice. Yes, when Satan appears at the third temple, there will be world peace for a short period of time. But then the prophecy says that nation will fight against nation. World War number 4 will happen. Finally, Armageddon, the plagues. But this figure, Donald Trump, Mashiach ben David, is going to restore the true observance of the Torah. The true observance of the Torah, the true observance of Satan's commandments with the Sunday worship. He is going to fulfill this. Another rabbi, Rabbi David Katz, which was, if you noticed, he was at the grave of Rabbi Lubavitch with Donald Trump at that moment. He was there in a corner. And he says this in this event of the Israel Heritage Foundation.
My esteemed colleague, Rabbi David Katz, Executive Director of Israel Heritage Foundation.
Good evening, everybody. In the Jewish calendar, we are during the 3 weeks that we mourn the destruction of the Holy Temple that happened thousands of years ago. Jewish people around the world still mourn this great loss, and every year during the 3 weeks, we mourn, and when it comes the big day of Tisha B'Av, we cry, and we have the great beliefs that very soon we will be Zoiche, we will all see the building of the third temple in Jerusalem very soon. We know one of the reasons of the destruction of the Holy Temple was Jews were not united. Jews were not loving each other. I don't want to say anything negative, but they were not positive, friendly, lovely. And our job to bring and to build the third temple is to unite. How appropriate it is tonight that we see all kinds of people, religious, not religious, Jews, not Jews, come together, and we honor our President Trump for what he has done for Jerusalem and for the Jewish people. So when we sit here today, we are helping and sending out a message to the entire world, knowing that Jerusalem is a place that has to be secure for Jews, and we should very soon be able to see the building of the third temple living with coming of Mashiach Tzidkenu b'mheira v'yameinu, amen.
We're going to say a little prayer or something. Would you like to? Go ahead, please. Who's better than the rabbi at this? Come on, Rabbi. Say another one. Say another one, Rabbi.
We all have great gratitude to this person. This is a person that doesn't care only for himself, but cares for the entire world, and especially for the people in Israel and for the Jews in America. My blessings may the blessings from Israel come upon the president, his family, and all his friends. May God give a long life, a healthy life, a sweet life to our dear president, Mr. Donald J. Trump.
So as we can see, they have it very clear, and Donald Trump has no problem in being involved in this movement. He at no moment says to this rabbi, hey, when did I say that I'm going to build a third temple? He knows what he's doing and he is keeping it quiet. So everybody can see that he is fulfilling the prophecy. But definitely he knows where he's moving to. So how does all of this fit into prophecy? And this is what we'll be seeing in the next part. That wicked Satan himself is going to be revealed. The prophecy said like this, and then shall that wicked be revealed, whom the Lord shall consume with the spirit of his mouth, and shall destroy with the brightness of his coming. Even him whose coming is after the working of Satan, with all power and signs and lying wonders, and with all deceivableness of unrighteousness in them that perish, because they receive not the love of the truth, that they might be saved. Very interesting. So it's saying that there is a truth, referring to the false coming of Christ, and in a certain place. Because in the chapter of 2 Thessalonians, chapter 2, it says that it will sit on the temple of God as if he were God. So, we can see here that God is warning us. There is a truth, there is a light, there is a prophecy referring Satan's appearance as if he were Christ at the third temple of Jerusalem. And that's those that reject this light, those that do not want to hear it, those that do not want to accept that this is a true light, then they will perish, because with all deceivableness of unrighteousness, they receive not the love of the truth, that they might be saved. This is a warning that we have to warn others. This is going to happen. The third temple is going to be built, despite all of the Adventists that say that it won't, or that if it is built, it doesn't mean anything, that this is not prophecy. The thing is, it is. And we must understand this. And we must warn others that this is Bible prophecy, and that this is the satanic agenda for his appearance 1 year before Christ comes. He will appear in 2030 at that place, the third temple of Jerusalem. Mark 13:22 says, for false Christs and false prophets shall rise, and shall shew signs and wonders to seduce, if it were possible, even the elect. So even those that apparently today know all the truth, know the Sunday law, they know the gospel, they know the three angels' message, and they know everything that apparently is being necessary to know for the end times. This special prophecy about the false Christ, the ultimate false Christ, appearing as if Satan, appearing as if he were Christ, can also deceive even the elect. So that means that anyone can be deceived on this. We need to get prepared then, and we need to be able to prove ourselves that this is true. Daniel 11:40-45. This is the prophecy that talks about all of this, and it's what we'll see in the next part. So we will finish with this quote of Ellen White from the Review and Herald, and she said, the judgments of God are in the land. The wars and rumors of wars, the destruction by fire and flood, state clearly that the time of trouble, which is to increase until the end, is very near at hand. We have no time to lose. The world is stirred with the spirit of war. The prophecies of the 11th of Daniel have almost reached their final fulfillment. The prophecy of the 11th chapter of Daniel has nearly reached its complete fulfillment. Soon the scenes of trouble spoken of in the prophecies will take place. That is what we'll be talking about. Daniel 11, verses 40-45. Something that has been misunderstood so many times, but that we will see literally how it has been fulfilled, it is being fulfilled, and that we are one verse from something very big and important to happen for this entire world. And that is someone to plant the tabernacles of his palace between the seas in the glorious holy mountain. Until the next time, I hope this has been interesting and it can inspire us to follow, studying, carry on the path towards Jesus Christ coming and stay firm in the truth. God bless.